Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at WhisperStatus74. This video is going to be about Vincent from Hdtvtest, who just released a TCL 8 series review. Now I want to do this video as quickly as I can and get it out there, as his video just dropped not long ago, and we're going to break it down for our community. Now for those of you that are new to the community, my name is Brian. I am not a professional calibrator. I am just like you. And this community is basically where we share our thoughts on technology and break it down a little bit further for real people with real lives instead of overcomplicating it. And this is my opinion on the video. Some of you guys will say, why do a video on a video? Well, it's really us discussing what some professional reviewers think, and again, breaking it down a little bit further. So quickly, for those of you that like Vincent, don't like Vincent, I like him a lot. I enjoy his channel. I enjoy the information that both he and his counterpart do with HDR and breaking things down even further. I am not somebody that thinks that he's paid by any of the manufacturers. That's just my opinion alone. I do trust his opinion. I don't always agree with his opinion. Now, the reason I'll say that is when you're talking about anything, whether it's Blu-ray reviews, video game reviews, there is going to be a person's tendency of what they draw towards. For Vincent, he is very analytical, and what he's looking for is accuracy and the most accurate image. I will tell you, my own preference isn't always going to be accuracy. I do enjoy vibrant colors. I do enjoy sometimes edge enhancement. Sometimes I do like added motion. Sometimes I like my image to not be completely accurate. So I would wonder how we'd all be if we sat in a room with Vincent and picked what the best image was, if it would be an accurate image. And I'm sure for many of us that image might not be the most accurate. I do like his sense of humor. I do like his reviews. They are very long, as are mine. But he breaks things down to where at a certain point you just don't know what he's talking about. So to be honest, I'll tell you what I think of the TCL 8 series from his point of view. As far as what I got from his review was the TCL 8 series micro LED, or I should say mini LED, and as well as micro LED, has always been touted as the OLED killer. And the reason they say that is the peak brightness of LED with the black level of OLED. Now, many of us saw this kind of disproven with Digital Trends overview, where there was some blooming on the mini LEDs, regardless of there being, 250,000 of them or 25,000 of them. It didn't eliminate blooming altogether. So I think a lot of us knew right from the beginning that the marketing there isn't going to match OLED. So right off the bat, 2 minutes in, after that overview, this is not going to displace OLED. Those of you that bought OLEDs are still ahead of the game as far as that picture quality. This isn't going to change that. This thing has over 2,000 nits, which is awesome. It doesn't have OLED blacks. It does have some of the issues that the Q90s and the Q9FNs have had as far as black crush and loss of detail. Like OLED as well, so you have the same issues you would have had there. So it hasn't solved anything in regards to that. I would also say that the problem that TCL is going to have is the exact same problem that Vizio Quantum XP series had, or Vizio has in general. It's going to be very hard to justify $3,000, even for a 75-inch display, being a TCL. Seeing how simplistic the remote is, it looks just like the Roku remotes and their TV remotes. It's going to have a hard time breaking that reputation, especially since it is going to be $1,000 more than something like the Vizio Quantum XP series. Please stop focusing. So that's going to be its biggest hurdle. Being a new technology, also you can see that it's very buggy. There are a lot of bugs to it. There is also a very overcomplication of its settings as far as HDR dark, brightness up. What's going to be accurate? Many of us are going to want to put the bright level at high, as my face is totally gone with the sun. We're going to put the bright level at high and HDR at dark. There is no playbook for mini LED, so finding a very accurate image into what you and I like is going to be very hard to discern. This is a first generation display. He was having a hard time calibrating it himself. which he's had hard times with other displays in the past, namely the Samsung with the wider wider color gamut. He's had a hard time making that image accurate, which is why we talk about accuracy. How important is that going to be to you and I? To some of you, accurate image, accurate colors are what's most important. To me, I like vibrancy as long as it doesn't get too cartoony, which is why I favor the LG C9 over the A9G, simply because I like more the vibrancy that LG offers. So, back to what we were saying is my first impressions of it. One, it is not going to remove OLED. Two, if you're somebody that bought a display recently, whether it's a Vizio Quantum XP series, a Sony 950G, a Q90R, any of you guys that had pulled the trigger on displays in the last few months that were worried about the micro LED, or mini LED, I'm sorry, I would put those worries to bed. I think that it's impressive. I think that it's going to be very buggy. It's first generation. It's going to take some time. This display was supposed to launch in October. It is launching in November, and as you can see, there are quite a few bugs, namely in gaming, and we'll get to that in a second. The biggest thing they're going to have a hard time with is justifying the price at that, with that reputation. Also, as you saw the clipping of Bright highlights in his video, I will link his video in the description, by the way, with that test that he does with the white circle coming out, the color gradation, the shadow detail that you see in that white, you're going to see that as dirty screen, as he said in the video, even though the screen that he had was pretty clear as far as screen uniformity, which TCL is known to have be a weakness. The mini LEDs do still have some blooming. Now, from what I could see in the video, the blooming is minimal, especially if you really know what blooming truly is, where it's not just this little tiny highlight. But remember, the marketing of micro LED and mini LED was to give you OLED blacks, which it does not. And it does crush some of the black detail, which OLED does. So if it's going to give me any of the strengths of OLED, I would rather have it not give me the crushed blacks of OLED as well. I'm sorry, the sun is all over me. So it gives me some of the strengths of OLED, but not completely, meaning that it still would fall in line with the Q90R and has the same kind of blooming that this display does, so I'm not really sure what the advantage to mini LED would be. 2000 nits peak brightness is excellent. If it does clip the bright highlights, the question with that, same with the Q90R, was would we know it without the equipment to judge it? That's kind of always going to be the issue with things that we look at in regards to Vincent and Artings. Would we really know the things he's talking about if we didn't have the information? Seeing the footage of Aquaman that he showed does look brilliant. The colors pop. The black bars are black as night, which is very, very important. But again, is it going to be something you guys will purchase at $3,000 at the 65-inch? When something like the Vizio Quantum XP series, which is nearly 3,000 nits, is now less than $2,000 or $2,000. So if anything, the mini LED coming out now, in my opinion, makes the Vizio Quantum XP series more attractive and more of a value, since it does exhibit some of the problems. There are a little bit of gradation that you can see, which you would think wouldn't be the case with all of these zones. The mini LED should eliminate that. Why I say that is with OLED, if that's what you're trying to mirror, there isn't really any of that. So, am I as excited as I was? No, I'm not. Would I still consider it? We'll see. For me, seeing just his video, I'll have to wait to see how other people review it. My apprehension has heightened, meaning that it's not going to deliver me OLED blacks, and there are some issues. Now, the biggest issue for me, jumping to the gaming side, one, finally we have confirmation that it's a 120 hertz panel. Everyone's been telling me in the comments of my own videos that it's been 60 hertz. It's 120 hertz. Him saying he's not sure if it's a native 120 hertz panel does give me pause, considering that a lot of you like 1080p at 120 hertz in your gaming. Now, he talks about gaming as it's an afterthought. Many of you use your PCs like myself. 120 hertz is important. I don't use it. Many of you do with 1080p or 1440p. If it doesn't recognize that, that's a big deal. It's not 60 hertz, which I thought would cripple it if it was 60 hertz. So I'm glad to hear it's actually 120 hertz. We can now stop battling about that in the comments. However, disabling local dimming in gaming. Now, Vincent talks about having a lower input lag, which is important to many of you. To me, picture quality will always be paramount, especially when I'm gaming. I don't have a high-end graphics card and I care about HDR is due to its picture quality. Local dimming is very important, especially in a lot of these games where it's very dark and it's the scenery, especially in single player campaigns. Yes, in multiplayer, it's less important. The input lag is more important, but you can have both with OLED and with the leading LEDs today without compromising local dimming. So that is a huge bug that they better solve, because that would be a no-buy for me right off the bat. If local dimming is disabled in any capacity during gameplay, why I say that is most displays will turn the local dimming on high, as well as their contrast, as well as their dynamic range for HDR. So how is it going to show me true HDR if it's going to disable local dimming in games? So right off the bat, that will be a no-buy for me on that alone, as I game on my display more than I watch movies. It's still very impressive technology, guys. It's still something that I think is going to change the way LED is thought out, except to me, it's just not ready for prime time. It's going to need a few months. It's launching now. I would caution anybody from pre-ordering anything as far as displays are concerned, especially things that are very new to the market. They clearly don't have answers for him, which I thought was interesting, considering they invite him in knowing who he is, and he's going to really break things down to as detailed as possible. And they didn't really have answers for many of the things that he was questioning. So for me, it's already a no-buy. We'll see how it performs going forward. We'll see how somebody like ArtSings, which breaks down things even further for me. I do like both websites a great deal, respect them both. You guys have your own opinions on their validity. I do like and respect them both. I don't believe everything that they say, but I do have enough knowledge myself to discern what I believe is true and what is stretched out. Am I disappointed? I never really bought into the hype of it conquering OLED. I will say I'm happy for those of you that purchased OLEDs or purchased displays lately that this display isn't going to eclipse that. I think TCL is a fine company. I think they're going to deal with, as I mentioned many times in this video already, they're going to deal with a lot of the prejudice that Vizio deals with. Even though a 75-inch TV for $3,000 is not expensive for a guys, remember with 75-inch TVs, when the Vizio P series launched in 2016, it was $4,000. And that was a bargain a few years ago. 75 inches is huge, but $3,000 for TCL is what many of you are going to say. And having it not quite reach the promised land in terms of being an OLED killer is going to knock it, because OLEDs are much cheaper than they were. And they do all of these things already perfectly well. They do have, not perfect, I shouldn't say that. They do still have their issues. But it is brighter. It does have great darks. Unfortunately, it's performing, fortunately or unfortunately, it's performing a lot like the Q90, which is great. Q90R is an excellent display, excellent LED. It's just, we're expecting it to be very, very different. I'm very excited about it. It's not a game changer, unfortunately, but this is why we have to relax with our expectations. I hear in the comments constantly, micro LED will be the next thing, mini LEDs the next thing. It's going to destroy this. Guys, it just isn't. Oh, the marketing, you can name it however you want. It's just not going to be that. So OLED is still king of what it does best. LED is still king of what it does best, namely peak brightness. But it hasn't done what I wanted it to do. I want that amount of zones to have an elegant local dimming, to where I don't see the transition from dark to light like OLED. I want the peak brightness from LED that OLED can never match. Even the brightest C9, as bright as it is, isn't anywhere near as bright as our highest end LEDs. This is supposed to bridge the gap, and in some ways it has. In some ways it is still nice dark colors with 2000 peak brightness, but again, that puts it almost in line with the Samsung Q90R, which is a display that follows many other LEDs. I was hoping with this amount of zones, blooming would be pretty much eradicated, considering that the Z9D and the KS9800 and the Q9FN had pretty much got blooming down to almost nothing. So I am a little disappointed. We will break this down further. This is my early breakdown of Vincent's video. Please check him out. Excellent channel. I'll put his link in the description below and a link to this video that he's done about the TCL 8 series. We will wait for Artings, Digital Trends, and CNET and those others to do their reviews. What do you think about it? Are you guys disappointed? Are you excited? Remember, this is just a quick opinion of mine. I've watched the video a few times. It's a quick overview. For me, biggest thing is, can TCL overcome the name? It's going to be expensive in comparison to the competition in that bracket, namely Hisense and Vizio. It didn't meet all the expectations, and it seems to be buggy in terms of its clipping of dark and light, clipping one or the other, clipping them both, and it seems like a very convoluted in its settings, that we're all going to be watching a very inaccurate image, not really knowing how these settings work until he can actually figure them out and TCL can tell us. Again, keep in mind, Vincent is very analytical. He's looking for accuracy. So many of us would probably sit in front of this display and think it looks absolutely phenomenal. It does look amazing from what his videos show. So always keep in mind that somebody like Vincent and Artings, they're numbers based and accuracy based. So you and I may still like the way the image looks. So take what they say and what I say with a grain of salt. I'm not going to jump all over it. It is interesting to me, but that's where I am with it. If anything, it does make the Vizio Quantum XP series more attractive to me because it is literally $1,000 cheaper. It is brighter. It has high local dimming, and $1,000 cheaper. This better blow it away, and I don't see that it's actually going to do that. And also, I would still look to buy OLED because this new technology is not going to eradicate it, beat it in any way other than bright room performance, which any LED will pretty much do that just due to its peak brightness. And the gaming local dimming thing is crippling. Hopefully that is just a bug. I imagine that's a bug. But really quickly before I get out of here, I know it's a long video, there seems to be a lot of trickery with the way it's achieving things, which is why the local dimming is not functioning. That I don't love to see. I don't love to see you're trying to achieve an input lag by disabling this, or a higher peak brightness by disabling that, or it's just something that I don't love, and it needs a little more time. Unfortunately, guys, there's only so many reviewers. They review them and they move on, leaving us to make the decision on our own, which is why channels like this are here and why we are here for each other. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I know this has been a quick video, not quick, long video, but quick to him putting out his. I hope everyone is doing amazing. I will see you in the comments. I have caught up to the comments. If you have any questions, please hit me up. If I missed your comment, please resubmit it, or you can find me on Instagram. Please like and subscribe. I will talk to you soon. Take care.